Hi, I'm Robert Noel. Welcome to Guitar Zone. Well, this is a very important lesson on technique and skill of what I call grab, choke, and mute techniques. Let's start first with what is muting? Well, muting's when instead of us having a ringing note, we choose to mute it. And as you can see here, if I'm muting these open strings, I'm simply laying my palm on the strings. So this may be your first exercise. Let ring, mute. Let ring, mute. Let ring, mute. Let ring, and mute. Let ring, and mute. So you may involve jumping around on the different strings, jumping, muting 6, 4, 5, 2, or say your notes, low E, D, A, B, G, E. And you can mix it up in a lot of different ways. You can go on and on with different ways of jumping around, but we're muting. We're learning to get comfortable with laying our flesh of our right hand, in this case, against the strings. And of course I can strum that. I can strum it fast. I can not only strum up, but I can strum up and down. I can strum down. I can strum up. So that's all 6 strings. What if I'm doing a 4-note chord? I got a D chord, and I just want to mute that chord. Well, then I've got you can hear that. A little progression, maybe I'm doing G, and then a D, and then an A chord, for instance, okay? So now I'm going to mute. So I can let the chord ring a little bit, and then mute. And then go into a mute. Chord, mute. Half mute. Mute. I can arpeggiate the mute. Like a finger picking pattern. Matter of fact, so here, I'm still muting. I'm using a pattern, but I'm laying my wrist. You want to be careful about how much pressure you put on the wrist. We can let them ring, and then we can mute. Kind of half muting. Now when I say half muting, I'm barely laying my palm on. Those notes are coming out just a little bit more. They're not so solidly muted as if I apply a little more pressure to the wrist. Now, just talking about muting again, if I'm playing notes, and let's just say I'm playing, how about that good old natural scale, right? F, G. So this may be a really good, another exercise for you to practice natural scale, your chromatic scale. If we play, let's say like an A major scale, like a Form 2 scale, So if I take this note and instead of muting here, I just raise my finger. So here I'm muting the string by raising my finger from depressing the string. So there's a little bit of ring afterwards because I have a little echo from this, of course, this acoustic guitar. And this applies to electric guitars, classical guitars, whatever you do. But you might hear it a little more on the acoustic type guitars versus an electric guitar. Depending on the amplification you're having. This is an amplified acoustic, but you can hear that. There's a little after, almost like an echo. But it's muted, still the same. It's not like going this. Now, what I call insurance on that muting style would be that, notice what I do now. I raise the pressure off. I'm still on the note, still on the string, but I'm not depressing, and I'm bringing my pick back. Do you see that? So I'm getting a staccato effect. Good word for you, look up, staccato. Okay? Staccato. Bup, 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 instead of ba-da-da-da-da. Bup, 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 bup. So, how about if I did all three techniques? The right hand technique and the letting go here. What happens when we use a muting technique? We get a percussive effect because we get that. It's like if I was doing a shuffle, okay, and I was letting it ring. So now I'm getting more like a bum, dum, like I'm hearing that snare drum. 1, 2, 3, 4 on the 2 and 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So whenever you mute, it's like you're hitting a drum. You're getting the tone, whether it be 2 notes, a chord, or single notes, or maybe you're playing a riff. So you see how cool it could be that if I'm soloing, I'm playing a blues or a rock solo, and I use that technique. If I get good at it, I can bring it in wherever I feel. And I don't hear a whole lot of guitar players do that. It's great to do on acoustic guitars, classical guitars, or it's great to do in electric guitar styles, okay? But how about I'm playing I'm jamming, and I'm hitting notes, and then I bring in mutes, and then I let notes ring. So you can hear when I'm bringing in, letting them ring, and I'm muting. Letting it ring. Let it ring. Mute. Let it ring. Mute. So I bring the mute in and I take it in and out. So what is a choke? Well, the choke. Okay. The choking is when I choke the neck. Okay. So this is another technique that involves really what we're doing here with this hand. And when I choke, I'm using usually my thumb. Okay. I call this my Groovy Method. Whenever I use a thumb, it's like Hendrix, okay? Because Jimmy, he would use this thumb. If you look at some videos of Jimi Hendrix, right? He would use this thumb to do... Now, sometimes I'm muting here, too. I'm bringing my mute... But I'm choking. It's like when you grab notes, and I'll get into this more when I give you some blues lessons with bending and vibratos. We choke, we grab the neck. I couldn't do that if I was in the classical orthodox method. I need power behind my fingers. I need to grab the back of that neck and choke it to be able to pull the strength off. So sometimes when we use chords that involve the thumb, I'm choking, I'm grabbing. So it's an important technique that you want to think about when you choke the neck. Left hand. When I'm choking, I can also let my fingers off the strings. So I get that more of that percussive deadening the string by releasing the pressure. And then I get that same thing like we were doing with the chords, right? Even if I was finger picking. I got my bass going and you can hear them. I can let those ring or I can mute them. I let that ring. Now I'll mute. Muted. Let them ring. So that muting, letting them ring, once you get good at it and you work with that, you're able to mute on call. Like you're just feeling it and you're going, wow, I'm going to kind of deaden that note a little bit. I'm going to mute it. I don't want it to ring. Or I want it to ring a little bit. I want to kind of not pressure a whole lot, but have a little bit of pressure, but kind of those notes are muted. So I'm going to do another video on grabbing, because grabbing's dealing with power we need to bend notes. But here in the chord technique that we're doing, and when I'm soloing and I'm muting, that can matter on the left hand, where if I'm doing an orthodox manner here of setting up my wrist is a lot different than when I'm playing with the thumb and I'm grabbing the back of the neck. It's more of a power grab, okay? And it's important to understand these techniques and styles. But with this lesson, I'm more focusing on the choke and mute, okay? So we choke chords like this and we mute them. We do the choke and mute also when we are working on solos and playing single note solos. So you would practice your scales, your blues scale, all muted, and then not muted, and then maybe kind of muted. Now remember, I can come back and stop the note. I'm actually putting my pick back on the string. Arpeggios. Then I let them ring. Bring that note out, mute. Bring that note out. Bring the root out, mute. Ring. So I'm muting and I'm letting notes ring. Really cool technique. Stay tuned because at some point I'll revisit this again. There will be a part 2 at some point, okay? So at least I've got you started and thinking about muting with arpeggios, scales, single notes, and we start to do solos and riffs. Well, what does it sound like when I mute it? And when you get really good at it and use it a lot, it becomes part of your style, part of your playing. And it's effective because it makes things stick out and it sounds different than letting notes ring. So it brings a whole new kind of ambience to your sound and your emotions when you can make notes jump out and mute and muffle. There's the other word, muffle. You're muffling. Like a muffle, you got to muffle the sound. You got to mute it. Think about that, okay? This could be really, really cool in your style to get good at muting, muffling, and using these techniques. And even with the rake techniques, I should say, when you rake strings, bringing notes in and then muffling them. And you want to mute. Groovy. All right. Stay tuned to the Guitar Zone and work on these techniques and skills. If you have some questions, make sure you send me an email.